Hello everyone, this is Collecting Casual here. I said that I was going to do 3 big Zelda month videos, but burnout hit me like a frickin' truck and I couldn't bring myself to even write the script for the first video. Like, I couldn't even get past the intro. Like, after writing the intro, my mind would just go blank. And then I kind of tried to compile those 3 videos into one video, and it just made everything more complicated and worse. Yeah, those big 3 Zelda month videos are gonna have to wait. Whether or not I do them outside of Zelda month, or maybe I'll wait until next Zelda month, I don't know. Point is that I don't have enough time to do that now. I felt like I had to do something. So now, I'm going to be showing you guys my collection of physical Zelda games. As of right now, I have 10 Zelda games physically, not including the remakes and stuff that I have. I have more Zelda games, but in terms of like individual unique Zelda games, I only have the 10. And I do have some of the older ones, like the original Link to the Past and Adventures of Link, all that digitally on like my Switch or on my Wii U with Virtual Console or whatever. But I can't really do this, so we're just doing physical games. So the first 2 games I'm going to be talking about here, I've already talked about them in my short reviews, and those are Link's Awakening and Ocarina of Time. And by the way, the Link's Awakening short, that one is currently sitting at like 1,000 views, which is... that's a big number for a channel of my size. Like, only like 40-something people acknowledge the existence of this channel. So seeing a video, or well, it's a short, but seeing something hit 1,000 views, that is just great. It's such a big number for such a small channel. And it's really cool. And I guarantee you that if that video wasn't a YouTube short, it would not have gotten the amount of views it did. Like, guarantee you if it was like a normal video, it would not have gotten 1,000 views, but it's whatever. 1,000 views is 1,000 views. It's whatever. Anyways, let's get to the actual review thing. So I'm just going to cover these real quick, because as I said, I've already covered them in my short reviews. So, Link's Awakening. This is probably one of my favorite 2D Zelda games. Definitely isn't my definitive favorite 2D Zelda game. And we'll get onto that one later in the video. But this one was really good. I haven't played it on the original Game Boy because I don't have a Game Boy. Well, I used to have a Game Boy, but that broke, so a long time ago. But so this was my first experience with Link's Awakening, and it is really good. It is definitely one of the easier Zelda games, but it is still a really good Zelda game. And if you have a Switch or a Game Boy or whatever, GBA, whatever, I highly recommend you pick this game up. This is a really good game. And the next game, Ocarina of Time. I really don't have anything much to say about this one because so many people have already said all the things that I want to say about this game, because like, you've probably heard endless praise for this game, and it deserves it. This game is incredibly good, and it is just really good. The story's great, the dungeons are fun, the bosses are fun. The time traveling mechanic is really fun to screw around with. It's like doing things in the past and the future and doing the things. It's a really fun game. It is definitely one of the best Zelda games just ever. It is really good. I would highly recommend this game to pretty much anyone. Like, in my opinion, everyone should at least give this game a chance. Just at least try it. I think this is a game that everyone should at least try once, maybe twice, if you feel like it. Basically, the point is, this is a really good game. as of right now, it is. I have the N64 copy here. I also have the 3DS remake that I showed in the short. So go check that out if you would like to do that. Anyways, next game is the Wind Waker, and this. Oh wow, this won't even fit in the camera. But Wind Waker, this is also a really good game. I mean, all the Zelda games are good, but this one is pretty good. I definitely like the new world take on the world because it's all sea and flooded and ocean and things, and you can explore it and be a pirate and stuff, and it's really fun. So this game isn't quite as long as some of the other ones. Most Zelda games, from what I know, have around 8 or 9 dungeons. This one has 6, which isn't a lot in comparison to the other games, but it's still... The dungeons in this game are pretty good. Like, the Earth Temple in this game is probably my favorite dungeon from the game, and it definitely stands out in comparison to the rest. But this is definitely a fun game. If you have the console that you need to play, I would definitely recommend picking this game up. It's on a GameCube and Wii U, as you can see right here. I don't have a GameCube copy of the game, otherwise I would have shown it here, because, you know, it's the original copy, all that. But I don't have one, so this is it. Yeah, highly recommend this game. This game is a ton of fun, if you haven't played it already. And anyways, next game. Okay, so next is Twilight Princess. So this is my favorite Zelda game, and my favorite game just ever. So my opinions on this game are going to be extremely biased because I grew up with it, lots of nostalgia. You get it. But this game is freaking amazing, man. Like, it's basically Ocarina of Time. It's a lot like Ocarina of Time in many ways, which is kind of why it's so great, because, you know, they're both very good games. I think, Twilight Princess has a more of an emphasis on the story than Ocarina of Time did, because the story in this game is a bit more fleshed out, and Ocarina of Time is just kind of... Ganon takes the princess and takes over the kingdom or whatever. This game has it a bit more fleshed out. There's like a whole nother world and stuff. I mean, you could argue that Ocarina of Time also has a whole nother world with the time travel mechanic, which, yeah, it does, but it's still Hyrule. I mean, this has an entirely different dimension in it, but you get the point. But anyways, this is a very good game. The characters in this game, or really any Zelda game, really. The characters in this game are really fun and interesting. The story is really good. And the dungeons is probably this game's highest point. Pretty much every dungeon in this game is freaking amazing. Like, even the early dungeons are pretty good. Like, the Forest Temple, yeah, that one's pretty easy, but it's still a good dungeon. And then a freaking Lakebed Temple, that is one of the few good water dungeons in the Zelda series. I actually really like Lakebed Temple. It's the only, well, it's not really. Lakebed Temple is like the one early game dungeon that I'm actually get excited for. Like, that's the one that I'm just like, oh, Lakebed, it's gonna be fun because it's more challenging than the others. And then there's other dungeons like frickin' Arbiter's Grounds and Snow Peak. Those ones are super frickin' good. And the bosses in this game, man, they're just next level. Like Star-Lord, Zant, frickin' I forgot the name of the Snow Peak Temple boss. Blizzetta, that's what the name was. Blizzetta. They're all really fun bosses. Bosses in this game are really fun. I wish it had a boss rush mode, kind of like Skyward Sword does, which we'll also get to that game here in a bit. But yeah, this game is really good. I could honestly go on pretty much forever talking about this game. But for the sake of time and getting this video out at some point, we're just gonna move on to the next one. Okay, so next game, Spirit Tracks. This game, it's alright for a Zelda game. It's definitely not a bad game. It's not a bad game. In terms of a Zelda game, it's okay. It's definitely fun, but the touch controls, they're kind of just neat. They don't really do much for the games. There are definitely some aspects of the touch controls that make sense, like using the boomerang to, like, guiding the boomerang around and stuff like that, but it doesn't just stop at the items. Like, the entire game is controlled by the touch screen. You move with the touch screen, you interact with things with the touch screen, you attack with the touch screen, you do everything with the frickin' touch screen. And it does get pretty old after a while. And this is one of the few Zelda games I have yet to beat, and it was because of the touch controls. Like, I got to, like, around the end of the game, and I just got tired of the touch controls. Like, I wish there was at least an option to use traditional button controls, but it's whatever. It's still a good game. This would be a game I wouldn't mind skipping out on if I had to. Like, if you have a DS, yeah, go ahead, pick it up. It's a good game. But be warned, the touch controls can be a little jarring and a bit tedious at times. But other than that, it's a decent game. And, yeah, that's about all I have to say for Spirit Tracks. Alright, so next game is Skyward Sword. So this game is also hecking amazing. I love this game. This is actually probably one of my favorite 3D Zelda games. Like, maybe third, no, more like fourth, but yeah, this is a really good Zelda game. It's really fun, let me tell you that. The motion controls in this game, whether you're playing it on the Wii or the Switch, I've played both. I don't have a Wii physical copy because I have it digitally downloaded on my Wii U, which isn't exactly something I'm happy about, but hey, I have Skyward Sword HD now, so now I have a physical copy of the game. But yeah, whether you're playing this game on the Wii or the Switch or whatever, the motion controls in this game are pretty good. Of course, now with the HD remake, you have the option to use button controls, which is always nice, you know, accessibility and all that. But the motion controls is definitely how this game should be played. It's like, when you're playing with button controls, you can tell that this game was made with motion controls in mind, because it just works better with motion controls. You can still do it, it's still definitely doable with button controls, but if you can do the motion controls, they're definitely better. Now, this game has probably the best story in the entire Zelda franchise. Like, this game's story, its music, its characters are all so freaking good. This is definitely the best story out of all the Zelda games, by far. As you know, it's the origin story, all of that. Whole demise thing and founding of Hyrule, all that. It is a really good game. Like, this remake, this really kind of exposed me to this game a lot more, because, like, when I first played it on the Wii, or technically on the Wii U, whatever, when I first played this game with the Wii version, I liked it, but I didn't really love it. And the remake, although it's basically exactly the same, I just love it so much more now. I just have a newfound appreciation for it. This is probably one of my favorite Zelda games. The bosses in this game are actually pretty good. I know, like, dungeons in this game get a pretty bad rap, but the bosses, on the other hand, are pretty good. Like, Koloktos, that was a really good fight. And even some of the dungeons, a couple of the dungeons in this game were actually really good. Like, the dungeons in this game, they used to get bashed pretty hard back when the game first released. But I feel like people have more of an appreciation for the dungeons in this game now. Like, the Citadel, That was a really good dungeon. And the sand ship. Those were both really fun dungeons. Like, the Citadel was a more of a classic Zelda dungeon, and the theming was incredible. It was just a really good dungeon. And Koloktos was the dungeon boss, and that's probably one of the best fights in the entire frickin' series. That's something we can cover in a later video or whatever. And then the sand ship was also really fun. With the time shift stone mechanics, you change the sand ship from old to new to access different areas. It was a really fun dungeon. Probably one of the best in the entire series, I would even say. It was a really, really good dungeon. But yeah, Skyward Sword is a really fun game. If you haven't already picked this game up, I would highly recommend it. If you have a Switch, get it. Just do it. It's a really good game. Anyways, moving on. So I just realized I skipped over this game. So we're gonna talk about it now. Majora's Mask. This is my original copy of the game. This is actually a collector's edition cartridge, which is rarer than the normal cartridge. All Majora's Mask cartridges are gold, but this one has like a holographic design, like a hollow, you know, like those bookmarks that you get at like the book fair. And they're kind of like 3D, and it like makes this weird noise when you scratch them or whatever. But yeah, that's what this is. And the collector's edition cartridge is actually online worth around $120. So this is something I'm very happy to own. But if you've noticed, there's masking tape on it. So funny story, I don't remember exactly who did it, whether it was me or one of my brothers, but me and my brothers were playing the 64, and one of us dropped the game and the entire back of the cartridge came off. Like, you can still see the cracks and stuff in it, which makes me really sad, because this would be a $120 cartridge, but dumb kid me and my brothers broke it. The game still works perfectly fine. I've had no issues running it. It hasn't crashed or anything, no bugs or anything. It still runs perfectly fine. The game is still very much intact, but the outer shell is just gone. Like, we had to use masking tape to get it back on, but whatever. I'm just glad I have the game. And onto the game, anyways, childhood stories aside. This is a really good game. This is definitely the darkest Zelda game in the entire series. And it's also the shortest. There's only 4 dungeons in the entire game. But thing is that this game's focus isn't on the story, it isn't on the dungeons, it's on the side quests, which is what I really freaking like about this game. Like, this has some of the best side quests in just ever in all of video games. Some of the best side quests, like the Cafe and Andrew side quest. That's a great side quest. All the mass side quests, some of the other side quests. This is a very side quest heavy game, and most of your time playing this game will be spent on the side quests. I would like to see someone in the comment section tell me how many times I've said side quests during this segment, but basically most of your time playing this game will be spent doing side quests, and it's really fun. And although the focus of this game is on the side stuff that would normally be kind of, pushed off to the side in most other Zelda games, this one's dungeons is still really good. Like Snow Peak and Stone Tower, those are both really good dungeons. Especially Stone Tower, man. Like, that one was really frickin' fun. And the bosses in this one are also really fun too, like Majora and Got, and those are the only 2 that are really fun, because the others are either tedious or easy, but still. It's definitely a good game. If you have a 64 or a 3DS, I would highly recommend picking this game up. It is a ton of fun. Probably one of my favorite 3D Zelda games, or just Zelda games in general. This one is really fun. But anyways, moving on. Next I have The Legend of Zelda, Triforce Heroes. Yeah, this one isn't that great. Yeah, this is not a great entry into the Zelda. It's not even really a traditional Zelda game. This is a multiplayer Zelda game. Yeah, a multiplayer Zelda game. And, yeah, I don't have any friends that have this game, or really a 3DS, much less. So this isn't exactly a game I see myself beating in a while. Yeah, this is the other Zelda game I haven't beaten, because playing through this game by yourself is a real pain. Like, this game was definitely designed for 3 players. Like, there are some rooms or bosses that are near to impossible to defeat playing by yourself. Like, thank goodness that there's a skip feature. Like, that's not something I really like. I always feel horrible when I'm skipping a boss or a room, but I'm pretty much forced to because I'm playing by myself and I need 3 people to do this thing. But this, if you have 2 other friends who are willing to spend the money and get the game and play it with you, then go for it. I know this game can be a lot of fun with friends, and although I don't have any friends that would really play this with me, because, you know, I'm that kid in the friend group. I'm that one kid that still plays stupid Nintendo games, but it's whatever, man. But yeah, this game is, if you have a couple of friends who are willing to play it, then go for it. I know this game can be a ton of fun with friends. So yeah, if you got that, go for it. If you don't, maybe if you don't have anyone who would really play this with you, then maybe skip out on it. I mean, if you maybe pick it up if you see it, if you really want to scream into a pillow for an hour after not being able to beat a boss or whatever, but it is a fun game if you got friends with you. So if you got friends, go ahead, pick it up. It's a good time. Anyways, moving on. Next is Link Between Worlds. So I don't have the original box art for this. As you can tell, I got this from GameStop, so I don't have original box art or anything. It's just a GameStop case, so something I want to change later. This is definitely something I want to get an original case for, along with some other games that I also don't have original cases for. But yeah, we'll just hold on. Let's just get the cartridge out here so you can at least get a bit of artwork. So yeah, Link to the Past. This is not Link to the Past. Link Between Worlds. Link Between Worlds. This game is basically a remake of Link to the Past. It's a standalone Zelda game. Like, it has its own place in the timeline and all that, but it is basically just a remake of Link to the Past. It is definitely a really good game. This is probably my favorite 2D Zelda game, and definitely my favorite handheld one, because this game is just really freaking good. I mean, after a first playthrough, this game is pretty easy. It's definitely on the easier side. I can fly through the game in maybe a few hours, like in a day. I could probably beat this game in a day if I really dedicated myself to it, but it normally takes me 2-3 days to beat this when playing on and off casually, but it's definitely a really good game. The story is, it's decent, to be honest, but it is definitely a fun game. The dungeons are also pretty fun. Like that sand dungeon, sand temple, I don't remember the name of. That one was fun. There are definitely a lot of good times we had with this game. Again, probably on the easier side of the Zelda games, but it is definitely a fun one. If you have a 3DS, highly recommend you pick this up. It is a really good game, and I cannot stress that enough. But anyways, let's move on to the last game that I have, which you've all probably know what it is already, Breath of the Wild. I mean, kind of the same situation with Ocarina of Time, where there's really nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. It is definitely a really good game. This is the Skyrim of The Legend of Zelda. I have sunk in, I think, around 200 hours into this game. And even more because I have it on Wii U, and I played that on the Wii U before I got a Switch. And I probably have like another 100 hours on that, so maybe around 300-400 hours of this game, which is, you know, a lot of hours. But this is definitely a really good game. The story's pretty meh, but the exploration is where it's at. Like, that is definitely this game's strong point. The story is meh, the dungeons are kind of meh, but exploring the world and, like, every time you boot up this game, you will find something new, whether it be a new Korok, or a new shrine, or a new little secret, or like a new boss, overworld boss that you found. There's always something new to be found in this game every time you play it. It is a load of fun. If you somehow or haven't already have a Switch or a Wii U and haven't already played this game, I highly recommend it. This game is really good. Probably not one of my favorite Zelda games because, you know, it strays off from the traditional Zelda formula quite a bit. But for this game's case, that's a good thing because this is still a really good game. So yeah, I highly recommend this game to anyone who has a Switch or Wii U. This is really a great Zelda game. And with that, we have talked about all 10 Zelda games I own physically. So, yeah, I kind of went into this without a script, and I have no idea what I'm going to say for this outro, but thank you for watching. Go check out the shorts that I did that I mentioned earlier. Maybe even check out that controller video I did. Maybe you should go look at that. It's a good video. I put a lot of effort into it. So go watch that, and my failures of Nintendo and all of that. And I will see you guys the next time I feel like uploading. Goodbye.